Dear students, good morning. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 3rd October 2020. The first article for discussion is Flagging Cess Non-Transfer, Its Economic Impact. It is beautifully written article. From this you can understand how to present an essay in your examination. Mr. Govinda Rao is very effective and also intellectual on fiscal federalism. Let us see this. You know Article 270 and 271. What is Article 270? Whatever the tax receipts of the central government, they need to be shared between the center and the states. We call that as divisible pool of taxes. On what basis it has to be shared with the states? It is recommended by Finance Commission, which will be appointed by the President once in 5 years. Article 271, it provides an option for the center to impose cess or surcharge. What is the difference between Article 270 and 271? The taxes which are collected, imposed and collected under Article 270, they come under shareable pool. But the cess or surcharge which is imposed under Article 271, it is non-shareable with the states. Let us see, a certain tax is 10%. And if 40% have to be shared with the states, 4 rupees out of the tax goes to the states. Now, government instead of raising 10% to 12%, if it has imposed 2% of cess, then center will get 6 plus 2, 8%, and the states will end up only with 4% of money. So, the cess or surcharge imposed under Article 271 goes entirely into the center's kitty. Second point you need to understand here is these are having a specific end purpose. Educational cess, Swachh Bharat cess. It means end use is clearly specified. The money which is collected for cess have to be spent only on that intended purpose. Then why cess has come into existence? You know, Finance Commission makes recommendations once in 5 years. If the center has to meet certain unforeseen objectives or projects, then it can impose the cess. It need not wait for another Finance Commission to come up and declare the things. Second is, many a times people will not be willing to pay taxes because they don't see utility, visible utility of it, specific utility of it. Let me put it this way. When a user knows that his money is used for a specific end purpose, he will be willing to contribute towards it. On the other hand, if I am paying income tax, how government is specifically going to use that income tax, I do not know. But in the case of the Swachh Bharat cess, I will know specifically what is the purpose of the money which I am paying for the government. So tax compliance is expected to increase. Based on these two reasons, cess is being introduced. Let us see some statistics to understand how this cess is increasing over years. Y.V. Reddy, former RBI governor, what he stated is this: in 2000-2001, the component of cess in gross revenue receipts of the revenue tax receipts of center is around 3%. Now, today it is around 20%. It means governments are indiscriminately using cess as a way of revenue. And obviously states will have complaints onto that. Third point, after introduction of GST, it was believed that the cess will come down. Even today we have 33 different types of cess or surcharge imposed on us. These you need to keep in mind. Next, what are the issues? Obviously, the first issue is the states are losing revenue. The states want the taxes to be raised under Article 270 rather than imposing cess or surcharge under Article 271. Obviously, it is a cheating on fiscal federalism. That's what they believe. Second, many a times governments have failed to spend the money which is collected under cess. As I said to you, it has a specific end use. And money which is collected into Consolidated Fund of India has to be transferred to a reserve fund. From that reserve fund, the government has to spend the money for the intended purpose. One way, money is lying vacant in the reserve fund. On the other side, government is borrowing for its expenditure and paying the interest. So this money is being unutilized. If you see, the telecom sector for rural connectivity, they have imposed a cess. Almost 40 to 50,000 crore rupees is still lying vacant in that, unutilized in that. Second is, many a times governments have failed to transfer the funds from Consolidated Fund of India to this reserve fund. In 2018-19 alone, the amount of the money which failed to transfer is around 1.1 lakh crore rupees. Obviously, it distorts the calculations of revenue deficit and fiscal deficit of the governments. You have too many cess, surcharges, taxes. Obviously, it will complicate the tax administration and tax compliance in India. One more point. Today, many of the states, especially raising one issue, GST compensatory cess, you know that 40,000 plus crore rupees has come in excess into this particular cess. It is collected in excess. The center did not share that money with the states. When there was surplus, center did not share the money. But when there was deficit, center is asking the states to borrow the money. So that's why the center has double standards, and this is what raised as an issue in GST Council. So remember these particular points. On fiscal federalism, there will be a question this year because we are seeing number of issues between the center and the states on financial matters. So I have framed a small question over here. CAD pointed out many pitfalls in collection, utilization and levy of cess. Discuss and critically analyze the issue of levy of cess in Indian fiscal federalism. So you need to write these 6 or 7 points which I have discussed to you that will complete the answer. The next is pathways to diversity. Biodiversity, ecological diversity. What does it signify to us? When you have so many different types of trees, so many different types of animal and bird species around you, don't you feel happy about it? That is what I call it as well-being. My grandfather lived much longer. The major reason is the natural habitat in which he lived his life. So, biodiversity has a significance for economic prosperity and also well-being of the people. So, ecological capital is important for economic capital or economic prosperity. In the short run, they may appear at crossheads with each other, but in the long run, they are synergistic and accommodative of each other. In this scenario, HE targets, AICHI, HE targets, these are targets on conservation of biodiversity. These were supposed to be reached by 2020. We did not reach any single goal on HE targets. And new targets are expected to come up. Why we failed to reach the targets? We don't see ecological diversity and biodiversity as venues for economic prosperity. We see them in crossheads with each other. And second, loss of diversity, almost 60% over 10 years, is been stated in WWF's Living Planet Index. Especially vertebrate population is decreasing. And today, India is a biodiversity hotspot. And this ecology has to be conserved. And many of the incentives are there in conservation of this ecology. The local communities are being given economic benefits in the form of geographical indicators, etc. What the author is trying to say over here is India need to play an active role in ensuring the IG targets or biodiversity targets achieved. And India has declared 5% of its land as protected area. But remember, today dilution of various environmental laws is clearly visible, especially environmental impact assessment dilution we saw before. These are the points. These articles are not very significant for us, but just I will cover them briefly. After the Ohio debate chaos, the essential politics. It is in the context of American elections. Before election, American presidential candidates are supposed to participate in a debate on various issues. It definitely influences various neutral voters on their voting choice. The present debate happened in Ohio is very short of the presidential election standards. There was personal accusations, abuse of words, etc. Now, let us get into the things. Obama Healthcare or Affordable Care Act was very socialistic turn of American healthcare system. Now Trump wants to reverse it. And Trump accuses Democrats as leftist. In this case, Mr. Trump wanted to be very much serve the interests of working class and also semi-urban middle class. The same is the population targeted by the Democrats too. That is what is being discussed. Caste, crime and a cremation. Here I will go a bit intellectual rather than just discussing the issue. I will take the important points said in this article to explain a particular point to you. First, in Hathras in UP, a district in UP, a Dalit woman is raped and finally she died in hospital. There was an antagonism between Thakur community and the Valmiki community. So, caste rivalry existed. And what can be the reason for the rivalry between these two families? What is the message it sends? There is economic mobility, occupational mobility of different communities. It is clearly visible among the hardworking Valmiki community. So they are trying to find out new economic opportunities. One of the member of their family is working in a nearby city and making a steady income. In this case, the economic prosperity of Thagurs has come down and Valmiki's relatively went up. And this loss of economic distance and rise in assertiveness among Dalits is a cause of concern and loss of dignity and pride, a sense of loss of dignity and pride for the Tagore community. So I am not supporting any of this, just I am trying to explain the issue here. What I mean to say over here is people are not ready to accept the changing circumstances. The world rules are changing forever. And this is expected to be natural. The increased opportunities are expected to create better lifestyles and better livelihoods. And second, remember one of the Thakur member is selling vegetable biryani. And when the journalist asked him, do you sell the biryani to Valmiki community? He said that, we don't club business with caste. Remember, to make money, caste is irrelevant. But to have a sense of pride in the identity, they want caste. What does this mean? Economic modernity is not going along with social modernity. So economically, we want to get over the caste differences so that we can become prosper. But on the other side, we want to retain the conservative mindset on the social front to enjoy the social privileges. So, two wheels have to go together, economic and social prosperity or modernity. But social modernity is not happening, but economic modernity is happening. You can also see in our lives, if you have a sister, you want her to achieve a lot on economic front, your parents. But when she makes a choice of partner of her own, you question her morals, her objectives or whatever it is. So in India, the biggest problem is globalization brought in economic modernity, but social conservatism is still continuing. And next point in this discussion is women are seen as a pride of the family, pride of the caste. If Kap Panchayats are active in that region, or for that matter, this rape incident, everything is seen centered around women. So that's why women are expected to be more conservative and not participate in any economic activity. When they become assertive, the sexual violence against them is seen as a instrument to control the entire community. So the gender violence is coming from the deep-rooted caste hierarchies that are existing in that society. That is what is the point I want to make. Here the local MP is also a Valmiki. Rather than he supporting the Valmikis, he goes to the Thakur's family and sits on the floor and carries his own glass to take the water from their family. What does that shows? This is enslavement of the political institutions to the caste hierarchy. So, if political and administrative institutions, unless are liberated from the caste hierarchies, the social liberation of Valmikis like communities may not happen. So that's why institutions has to free themselves first and has to liberate various downtrodden marginalized communities in India. That is the point to take home. High Court favors comprehensive plan for criminal justice setup. Public prosecutors are an important wheel in criminal justice system in India, but don't have a proper recruitment method, proper training method, and proper amenities to upgrade their knowledge and build their capabilities. That is what exactly pointed out by Telangana High Court. Finally, government cannot keep deferring labor reforms. Labor codes are being enacted. National Labour Commission in 2002 recommended for this. Even after 18 years, there is an opposition to this. Probably in our shift from socialistic to capitalistic economy, we are having these hiccups. In this context, what Mr. Ganga, our union minister, says is this. The social, that is labor codes, are meant to balance three things. One is economic production, employment generation on one side, and the welfare of the workers on the other side. This is a balancing act. Second, it also tries to provide equal wages for everyone, minimal wage, and ensures no arbitrary reduction of the wages by the employers to these workers. That way, it is meant to protect the workers' welfare. The social security benefits are expected to reach to everyone. On the other side, to the employer, a sense of autonomy is being given to manage his industry with little intervention or regulation from the government. That's why the labor codes are simplification of laws and also a balancing act to revive the manufacturing sector in India. That is what Union Minister's opinion. Remember, whenever these laws or labor codes or farm laws, etc., which are being passed, you need to see the opinion of the critics and also the opinion of the government. Then you can get both sides of the argument. Sometimes question asks you to support that, sometimes critically analyze. You need to know both sides of the coin. Reading the interviews of the ministers, etc., you will try to understand the version of the government. That's why I am covering these articles. Thank you very much and have a great day. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for Law Excellence IAS.